It's another psalm today, Psalm 124, a song of ascents of David. If it had not been the Lord who was on our side, let Israel now say, if it had not been the Lord who was on our side when people rose up against us, then they would have swallowed us up alive. When their anger was kindled against us, then the flood would have swept us away. The torrent would have gone over us, then over us would have gone the raging waters. Blessed be the Lord who has not given us as prey to their teeth, who we have escaped like a bird from the snare of the fowlers. The snare is broken and we have escaped. Our help is in the name of the Lord who made heaven and earth. The scenario is one of being hemmed in and surrounded and overwhelmed by great threat. Threat is looming large, like a shadow that just won't ever leave. For David, he recalls perhaps one of his many skirmishes with the Philistines. And then he imagines in this psalm what would have been had the Lord not been with him. It's a very dark place that he goes to. If the Lord had not been with David, if the Lord had not been with them in those dark and difficult moments, then what would have been? And he knows, well, the Philistines were a great army. We would have been completely overrun, destroyed, swallowed up whole. And he likens them to a raging sea. They would have just swept over them and they would have just drowned beneath the great strength of this foreign army if the Lord had not been with him. Psalm 124 is a very good psalm for us to remind ourselves of when we think about those scenarios, those difficulties that we're facing day by day. We can look back and we say, well, were the Lord not with us, then it would have been so much worse. The outcome would have been so different if the Lord had not been with us. Do you see, David is allowing himself to think that way. And the pilgrims that would sing this psalm every time they went up to Jerusalem, it's a psalm of ascents, and they would sing this to remind themselves, only by God's grace have we got this far. Only by the fact that he has been with us and been for us are we able to do this today. Only by God's grace are we as Christians able to face daily battles, day by day, to be in life as we are. There, but for the grace of God, go I, we might say. It's a healthy thing for us to do, to remind ourselves of how difficult and dark the situation of our lives would be had the Lord not been with us. Of course, we don't always know the answer to that. But certainly we can look back at history and we can look back, as David does, and thinks about perhaps those many skirmishes he had with the Philistines, and he saw the Lord was with us. We did get through. That was because he was with us. And we can do the same. We can look at life and say, well, yes, we've got this far because of the goodness of God. He's been with us through our lives. It's not always been easy. The enemies are still out there, but God has brought us safe thus far. So the psalm begins with that imagined place of real darkness and despair. But then David moves us into much brighter hope in the rest of the psalm, as he contemplates the fact that the Lord has been with him. Yes, he's not allowed us to be eaten up by the teeth of these raging tyrants around us. The Lord has been at work to preserve us and to uphold us. The Lord is with us. The scenario of doom, which would have been, as you look at verse 7, of us being so vulnerable, like a little bird and caught in the snares of the fowler, completely helpless, unable to escape, and at the mercy of whoever it is who'd taken us down. That's the worst case scenario if the Lord had not been with us. But he has. And so we've escaped like a little bird getting free from that snare. We've flown free. The Lord has helped us. And of course, it ends with that wonderful verse about the help of the Lord who is with us. So whatever it is we're facing today, this week, perhaps we could think, not for too long to spare your mind, but just think, what would it be like if the Lord wasn't with you? What would you have? What hope would you have? What help would you have? The Lord wasn't with you. But then we've got to remember the Lord is with us. The Lord has saved us, ultimately from the greatest enemies of man, not the daily threats we face, but the ultimate threat of sin and death and hell. The Lord has set us free from the snare of the evil one. The chains have been broken, and we are at liberty now to follow our Lord. Through the struggle, through the battle, but he is with us. And Paul, I love the fact that he can boast in Romans 8 that if God is for us, whatever the struggle may be, life, death, angels, demons, sickness, health, I don't know, whatever it may be, if God is for us, who can be against us? Right? He's won the victory that even if I die because the war is raging around me and I get shot or whatever the situation is, I get a disease, I die, or I get run over, or I grow old and I die, doesn't matter, because the Lord has won the victory. He has taken us through because of the death and resurrection of Jesus. We know that the ultimate enemies of sin, death and hell have been defeated. I have nothing to fear in life, nothing to fear in death, because Jesus Christ is with me. It's not that he's not with me. He is with me. And that's why I am the way I am today. Whatever the raging battle around or within, up here or in here, the Lord is with us. Psalm 124 is a great psalm to sing, to remind ourselves that the Lord is with us, and it would have been an awful lot worse had he not been. Good news, you've been set free. Good news, the Lord is your hope. Good news, you have nothing to fear because God is with you. God bless.